Find 1,000 tribes who naturally exist, who naturally want your book. So, for a book about gratitude, what I'd spent some time doing is saying, who online is already in this purview, who already loves this stuff? Teachers are a good example. They want exercises for their classroom. What teacher websites? I went to go speak at teacher conferences for free. I just let me tell them about it, you know? This book is about resilience. So we're thinking okay, what are some tribes, some groups that are naturally oriented towards resilience? And what are their podcasts? And even though the podcast might have 500 listeners total, they might be 500 people who are naturally oriented towards your book's theme.
All right, welcome back. We are doing a 10-part series on how to sell 1 million plus books with Neil Pasricha, who has done it. This is episode 6 on how to plant the right launch seeds.
Yes.
This is it. This is what everybody wants to know. How do we launch, Neil? What do you got?
Well, it's worth pointing out, Evan, I think that we're on number 6 out of 10, and we're only now getting to the launch.
Yeah.
So the previous 5 things on sharpening your voice, on finding your fans, on getting the title we just talked about, this is all way before the book even comes out. So we're more than halfway through the 10-part video series, and only now are we starting to talk about the launch. And that's partly the principle here, is that so much of this is about pre-work, homework, groundwork, legwork, work, that's all in service of something that's gonna come later, okay? Now, let's talk about launch. We're gonna do 2 things on launch, and one of them is gonna be this one, and the next one is coming. The number one indicator for how successful a book is going to be is how successful its launch is.
Okay.
It is extremely difficult to have a poor book launch and to sell 1 million copies.
Okay.
It is much easier to have a huge book launch and then let it roll and roll and roll and roll. Because once a book gets there, grabs onto a couple bestseller lists, gets front of placement in some bookstores, gets on a couple big YouTube channels where people are talking about it, then the ripple effect can happen naturally. The word of mouth can happen naturally. The I heard someone told me about this can happen naturally. But in order to get that, you need the launch. In order to get the launch, you gotta plant some launch seeds. Think about the last time you or the viewers bought a book before it came out. Before it came out. You probably, for most people, would say never.
Yep.
Even though the number one indicator publishers and retailers use as a way to determine what a book's trajectory might be is actually the number of pre-orders a book gets. So this is a really weird paradox. You and me and the average person has never bought a book before it comes out. Average person, I've actually am starting to do it more and more now. But yet it's the biggest indicator because of course the people that are pre-ordering your book are like super fans.
Right.
And mom and dad, right? So the first thing you have to think about is, why should someone pre-order your book? Why should they give you money when they can't even do the flippability test in the bookstore? They can't even hold the thing. So it harkens back to number 2 in this series where we talk about finding your fans. They have to know and trust your brain and your brand and your value and your writing already. So they think, well, this person's written all this stuff I like, so I'll probably like this. That's one. The second thing is you need to incentivize them. You need to offer them a bonus or an extra or some benefits to getting the book early. You can be very open about this. You can say, in the publishing world, pre-orders are very important because they determine how many books a retailer might buy. If they buy more, they feature it at the front of the store. It's all coming back to this pre-order thing. And you, my reader, because I found you, we're talking already, it's before the book comes out, I've met my reader, is for you, I know you probably don't want to do it. So if you pre-order it, here's what you get. I have a friend named Humble the Poet. He just launched a book called Unlearn. He said, anyone that pre-orders my book, I send you a personalized shout out.
Okay.
That's it. It didn't cost him any money. It takes some time. He does little selfie videos like, Diane in Puerto Rico, thanks so much for ordering. And just that, he sends it to them. So simple.
Yeah.
but it's a piece of additional value for someone that already has a platform and does not have a one-on-one connection. A lot of business authors typically offer like bonuses. So like a guy like James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, or Ryan Holiday, who we've talked about before, they might say, you might get an extra chapter that's not in the book. You might get a couple bonuses. You might get a worksheet on how you can use this at your company. You might get, and typically this stuff is delivered via PDF, auto email. You can do a lot of work to make the content really high value, but then it's as simple as a form on your website or a way to like register, and then it just kicks out the goodies.
Right.
Okay? And what are those goodies for you? It's up to you. For the Book of Awesome, I ordered 10,000. I was a bit ambitious.
Okay.
I ordered 10,000 magnets, postcards, and stickers saying things like, everyone needs some awesome or whatever. I think I printed some stickers that said like, I love snow days and I love old dangerous playground equipment, some mention of the book. And literally my mom and my sister like stuffed envelopes and hand wrote and mailed them out.
That's wild.
And I know it doesn't sound like much, but maybe 1,000 people pre-ordered the book from that. And I ordered 10,000, so my parents still have like 9,000 of these things in their closet. But 1,000 was enough of a sign to the publishers and the researchers that, hey, 1,000 people bought this thing in advance before it even came out. So that's one way to plant your launch sheet, is work really hard on what you're offering someone in order to do the pre-order campaign. And like I said, it could just be as a selfie video. It's something like little fun. It doesn't have to, I wouldn't do the mailing thing again because it's a huge logistic nightmare. Right? And you have to pay for all the postage. Number two, what's the other way that you decide whether or not to buy a book when it first comes out? Very simple for everybody. It's the same thing. Reviews. If I tell you that a book came out 2 weeks ago and I send you the link on an online retailer's website and it has one review and it's 5 stars, you're like, the guy's mom or the woman's husband or the person's dad, like you're like, that's not a real review.
Yeah.
So it's actually quantity of review that matters more than the rating at the beginning, because most books will have 2 reviews, 5, maybe 10. So how do you get a lot of reviews? It's a challenging puzzle. Amazon knows that it's a challenging puzzle, so they offer a service called the Vine program, where you can convince your publisher to buy reviews. What that means is that people that are part of this program choose your book. They choose from many products. They give it a legitimate, authentic review. I know this for sure because people review my book. They're like, 1 star. Even though I got this for free, it still stinks, right? So it's not like you're getting like baked reviews 5 star. You're genuinely going to get whatever people's authentic reviews, but it gets the number of reviews up.
Even though they're more likely to be strangers who don't know your brand, who are most likely going to review it lower than somebody who's a super fan.
I think that is a possible risk too. The other thing I do, and I've done this on all my books, although I'm surprised more people don't do it, is before your book comes out, something else is printed beforehand. It's called a review copy. Sometimes called an ARC, A-R-C, advanced review copy, or a galley. Okay, so at the time of recording this video, this book has a galley, but it's not come out. This doesn't come out till November.
Right.
So normally, a publisher says, "Okay, Neil, you get 10 copies of a galley," and I always say, "Yeah, can I have 1,000?"
Right.
And they usually say yes. And if worst case scenario, they say, "Oh yeah, but it'll be like $1 a book or something." From the time the galleys are printed to the time the book comes out, I literally just keep like 5 in my backpack at all times.
Yeah.
No major vested interest, other than when I bump into somebody on a plane, when I meet somebody on a bus, when I'm at my in-laws' house with 10 people at a Christmas party, whatever, I like give people the book in advance. Why do I do that? So that when the book comes out, I can say, hey everyone I gave the book in advance to, if you read it, and some don't, then could you leave me a review? And that helps the book get like 100 reviews, or 50 reviews even, out of the gate.
Right away.
And even 50 is enough of a sign so that when someone visits the website, they see that the book is kind of being read and they get an honest opinion. I never ask anyone for a 5-star review, ever. I never say like, please make a 5-star. I don't do that. I say, can you give me an honest review? You just want an honest review. And people are just looking for someone besides the author telling them what the thing is. Right?
Are those 2 good numbers for somebody who's just trying to get started? 1,000 pre-order copies and 50 reviews
Yeah,
out of the gate?
I love the way your brain works. You want the actual numbers. You know,
I know it's but like just
so
ballparking.
I know some
ideas.
big authors.
Yeah.
I know some very big authors that they'll get 10 or 20,000 pre-orders.
Okay.
And now we're talking, because that might even be enough to crack the New York Times bestseller list on the first day.
Right.
Right. That's amazing. I'm sure Michelle Obama got 100,000 pre-orders. Right.
What do you need to hit the New York Times bestseller? Is it 10?
There's no absolute number.
Right, but rough. 10 to 20?
1,000?
Yeah.
That would be a good general rule of thumb, but I
Yeah.
say there's no absolute number because I know people that have sold more
And
and
didn't
have
make
not made it, and people have sold less, not made it. It also depends on at
timing.
Christmas time,
Right,
it might be
crazy.
50,000.
Yeah.
In February, when no one's buying books, it might be 3,000, and your book comes out that month. And it's curated, which means the New York Times can decide what's in, what's out.
Right.
It's not like a spit out of BookScan or BookNet,
Right.
literally the Nielsen's POS sales data. It's not that. Some newspapers use that. I believe the Wall Street Journal does. I know in Canada the Globe and Mail does. But the New York Times is editorialized, so you don't really know how to make it, and they protect the fact that you don't know how to make it.
Right.
So we can get into a whole deep conversation about how to make New York Times bestseller list. The only way I've made New York Times bestseller list is when I have national media. So if I'm on the Today Show, then my books ratchet up there because people all saw me on some big TV show. But even that these days is much more splintered. Less people watch TV, more people watch Evan Carmichael.
Right?
And all the other people on YouTube and all the other people on Instagram and television, all that stuff. Okay, so I said two things already. Number one, I was just talking about reviews, okay? And before that I was saying pre-orders. Okay, what's the third way you can try to plant launch seeds? Okay, here's the third way. Find 1,000 tribes who naturally exist, who naturally want your book. So, for a book about gratitude, what I spent some time doing is saying, who online is already in this purview, who already loves this stuff? Teachers are a good example. They want exercises for their classroom. What teacher websites? I went to go speak at teacher conferences for free. I just let me tell them about it, you know? This book is about resilience. So we're thinking okay, what are some tribes, some groups that are naturally oriented towards resilience? And what are their podcasts? And even though the podcast might have 500 listeners total, they might be 500 people who are naturally oriented towards your book's theme. So yes, it's nice when you make the Today Show.
Right.
And of course it will help your book if you're going to be on Good Morning America or the front page of the Wall Street Journal, but that's mass. And there's something about small, targeted, repeated, and you can do a lot of that stuff before the launch.
So what's the process to drill down? If you said teachers.
Yeah. Okay.
So what am I doing? I'm going to LinkedIn and looking for teachers?
Okay. So, let's talk about teachers, for example. What I would do is I would go to the Apple Podcast app, and I would type in any search term you could think of if you were a teacher. So my wife is a teacher. So I would say, Leslie, what podcast would you listen to? Oh, well, my friends are listening to this one. Or she goes on there and types in education. You can type in all these search terms looking for them. The next thing is look at the number of reviews. That we're doing the same thing on each other. How many reviews does the podcast have? 0? 50? 1,000? It tells you something about how popular it is, how people listen to it. And there's nothing wrong with a 0 review show. It's just check, then listen to it. Do you think you might connect with the host? Do you think you might connect with, do they even have guests on the show?
Right.
Otherwise you're pitching a show and they're like, we don't even have guests, dumbass. Didn't you listen to it? Right? So you got to do your homework. Search for the shows. This is just, I'm just talking about podcasts.
Yeah.
Just searching for them, then checking reviews, then listening to them. Then, once you have got that far, you personally, not your assistant, not your team, you. Hi, my name is Neil Pasricha. I listened to this episode. Here's why I liked it. I have a new book on this theme. Here's why I think you might like it. Can I send you a copy of the book? That's it. And then all you do is follow up 30 days later saying, did you get the copy? Do you think it would be a nice fit for a conversation? And if they don't reply to you ever again, worst case scenario is you lost an email of time and you lost a book of time.
Right, and you listen to a podcast at a time.
Exactly.
Are you then physically mailing out the book and signing it and bookmarking page 42 because that's geared towards teachers? Or are you just ordering from Amazon and you send it off to them?
Yeah, I mail them out myself. I can't order from Amazon, the book's not out yet. right? This is all before. This is all the 3 things I'm talking about now. We'll get to the launch in the next video.
Yeah.
But the next thing I'm talking about is this is stuff before the launch. Now, your publisher, if you are going through a traditional publisher, should be able to help you out with that. You can start feeding them names and addresses and saying, hey, these are like 30 big podcasters that I think I could be on. Yeah. These are 30 websites. These are 30 communities. It has to be authentic. Here's the thing.
Right.
You can't just like start pitching people randomly. You genuinely have to find them, and they exist. The world's so big. How many YouTube channels are there oriented around results? I don't know. I haven't started looking yet. But when I start looking and I find them and I watch videos and there's a connection, then maybe we could do something together.
So you're in that phase now for this book.
Yes.
Right? You don't have the physical galleys yet, but you got the e-copies, you got this. You made this just for this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
No, I said I was coming on Evan Carmichael. They're like, Evan Carmichael, print the biggest sign you can get.
You fit through the door. I'm grateful. So your book comes out in November. We're filming this in end of June.
Yes.
You're already starting to planting the seeds. Uh-huh. How much of your time are you dedicating now
towards? So you can decide how like the things I just mentioned.
It's time.
It's time.
Yeah.
It's time. I'm talking pre-order campaign. I'm talking 1,000 reviews or 1,000 galleys that you try to get reviews on. I'm talking looking for 1,000 tribes. The average person who's listening to this should already feel exhausted.
Right.
But we're talking about selling 1 million books. We're not talking about selling 1,000.
Right.
If it was selling 1,000, I wouldn't bother with this. This episode would be moot. But you wanted me to come talk about 1 million, so I'm telling you, you got to grind. You got to hustle. And all these 3 things I'm talking about make a huge difference, and they come from very authentic places. Trying to give your own readers extra value. Yeah. Trying to give people books for free so they can read it. You want people to read the thing, right? And then see if they want to. I'm never doing anything pushy. If you wanted to go all in, you could hire 3 research assistants. You've taught me that. You can hire research assistants, and you could say, hey, try to find podcasts. Here's my themes. Here's my principles. Then feed me the ones that I should listen to. Then you listen to them. Then you come up with like a targeted pitch letter. Okay? You edit the pitch letter, the top line, the bottom line. You have a 3 or 5 sentence email. You don't want it to be too long or no one will read it. You have people ready. You have an assistant ready to be mailing stuff. I mean, this cavern is deep.
Yeah.
How deep do you want to go? But the reason it's all before the launch is because you can record a lot of these podcasts and episodes before the launch even happens. Mm-hmm. So when it comes out, what you're hoping for, when the launch happens, you're hoping for the surround sound effect.
Right.
You want people to be like, I heard of that book somewhere and I don't know where.
Everybody's
That's the biggest compliment you can get.
So let's break down yours quickly just for timeline. So we're 4 or 5 months away from this hitting bookstores.
I haven't even done most of what I'm telling you to do yet.
Okay, great. So how long did this book take for you to write?
Oh, okay. Oh, you want the whole history of it. Okay. Yeah, I wrote the book in 2017.
Okay.
In 2018, I signed with Simon & Schuster. We went through a long number of edits back and forth.
So it took you a year to write it?
Yeah. Well,
and then a year to edit it.
It took me I wrote it in a sprint, and I wrote it probably 3 months, but I didn't do anything else for 3 months.
Right.
Like I didn't do anything else. I just wrote it, period. Right? Then signed with the publisher. So we put it into a book proposal.
Right.
We pitched it for a publisher. Usually what happens is people pick the most money that they get. Right? Like this publisher offered me 10 grand, this publisher offered me 50, this publisher offered me 1,000 or 100. Then you go with the biggest. That's usually what people do, unless they have a vested relationship or they really want a particular editor or somebody has a vision for it that you want to do. It's like how you sell a house.
Yep.
You're like, you usually go with the highest bidder unless you're like, well, we really like that family.
Right.
We want them to live in our house. Then you might go somewhere else. Okay? Then you find an editor. What you're doing when you find a publisher, by the way, is finding an editor.
Right. Someone
whose voice can align with yours. Someone who can see where you could go. Amy Einhorn said to me, my editor for the Book of Awesome, it's not a blog to book. It's not a printout of your blog. It's a hardcover. It's for soccer moms. It's a gift book. She positioned it that way, and I was captivated by her vision. So that's partly what you're choosing when you choose a publisher. You're choosing the editor that's going to edit. In this case, I was lucky to have 2 editors, Lauren Spiegel in the US and Nita Pronovost in Canada. Both amazing editors, and been really lucky to work with them. So Nita did the lead role in editing with 2 editors. One person's taking the lead. Nita was the lead. She edited multiple versions. Then
and that's a full year of editing?
Basically. It's like if I did the math, I'm like, it's probably a year of just editing.
Okay.
Like the way editing works is, here you go. Here's a 300-page Word document.
Yeah.
And then a month later, they're like, here you go back.
Right.
And you're like, okay. A month later, you're like, here you go back.
Track changes.
So it takes, track changes. Like,
here we go.
And it's like a month at a time, this gigantic hot potato, right?
Right.
Like, poof, poof. It's like the world's slowest game of Pong, you know? So it's like really like that. So I'd say it takes a year, but like, it's just like I'm hustling and then I take a break and then do something else. Then, of course, another kind of 6 to 9 months of putting it in the catalogs for the book publishers, equipping the sales force with the information. They can tell the retailers about it. You have to sell it to the retailers. How many copies is Walmart going to buy? 0? 100,000? 50,000? They decide based on their space in store, how many books they're going to feature. Should this be one of the ones that they feature? Why or why not? What's their focus in their store? And this is all happening through the back end. Mm-hmm. Then it gets time 4 months out. Yeah, now we're in the process of like covers finalized. Right, we're in the process of, I'm looking for blurbs now. Whose name is going to be at the top saying this book is good? Like we're asking people to do that, right? So there's all that kind of stuff, and then there's like first pass, second pass, third pass, which means the final book is given to you, and you find out that there's 10 commas missing, okay? Or you're like, oh, right. I don't want that person in my acknowledgments anymore. We had a breakup, whatever it is, you change.
Right.
And then you keep going, and then you keep going, and then this is all the pre-launch stuff, and now I'm talking pre-launch campaign, reviews campaign, and finding 1,000 tribes that are related to your book's central theme.
And once you have your launch date, you personally, Neil Pasricha, goes hardcore on the seeds 4 months before? 3 months before? 6 months
I also want to take like summer vacation with my family. Okay. So, I might not be as hardcore as I was when I was young, single, and alone, working 22 hours a day. You get out what you put in.
Right.
But I also have a reputation now where I can call up some old friends and be like, I was on your podcast for the last one, or I was on your, and they're like, yeah, great to have you back. So there's less work the more you do it.
Right.
I'm talking to the first-time author or the first-time person who I think is watching this saying, that's why I'm laying out all the groundwork deeply, right?
So for that
person.
So
like pre-order campaign, by the way, the first time I had no email list.
Right.
Now I've got a big email list. So it's a little easier to get pre-orders, right?
So if they've gone for the first-time author, they've written the book, they've gotten it edited, I have something ready to sell now.
Uh-huh.
How long should I wait until I actually sell it? I'm doing on pre-marketing.
6 months probably.
6 months.
6 months, 3 to 6 months at least.
Yeah.
Just because of all the stuff I'm telling you about, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
It takes a really long time.
That's a full-time job. That's a 3-day a week. Yes, what you put in, what you put out. I always try to nail you on these specifics.
Yeah.
But for someone who's trying to budget their time, is it like this is full-time for 6 months?
If you were to put a full-time job into this, taking it very seriously with the ultimate goal of spreading your work, I feel like your book is going to be a hit. Because you're sowing all those seeds to bloom when the book comes out. And how great would it be when your book comes out if you have 1,000 people, you said 1,000 true fans, already saying, right when it comes out, I already read it, I really liked it, you should get it too, and check out the reviews, there's already 100 up there somehow.
Yeah.
And of course you'll get a few saying, those are fake, but they don't realize that all you've been doing for months is like giving people the book so they can read it and check it out, right? And then if you listen to the podcast they like on the topic that you've written about, or the YouTube channel that they're already watching, and you're on there, because you took time to connect with somebody and offer them some real value. You could also do things for the channel. The best thing to do for the channel or the podcast is to give them something that they want. Back in the day, this used to be, would you like 5 free copies for a contest?
Right.
Right? Would you like me to do something for your channel that would help you? Like, what would the person want that would be helpful for them, and give them that. You go on YouTube channels or podcasts that have nothing to do with your perfect theme, because the theme, like my podcast is called 3 Books. I'm looking for the 3 most formative books of inspiring people, right? I've interviewed Malcolm Gladwell, Chris Anderson, Judy Blume. Partly they come on my show because they have a book out. But when they come on my show, I ask them about the 3 books that they've read.
Right.
Actually, it's not related. So you end up doing stuff like that that's not perfectly related, but still it's giving them what they want.
Right.
Right? So I'm only trying to serve. You want to give people what they want for their channel, for their podcast. And then if in the intro, outro, they're like, and he's got a new book out, that's enough. You can't be harping on the thing forever.
Cool. I love it. And take it seriously for months.
It's a full-time job. Or it
won't work.
or it won't work, or you get to, we got another video coming on called Get Lucky. You could just get lucky. This video, this
Teach
video,
me that.
This
Forget
video,
all the others.
Well, this
Teach me how to
video
get lucky,
sequence
Neil.
is not for the people that get lucky. This video is for people that work hard at it. Because that's what I can talk about.
Love it. All right, so once again, this is a 10-part series on how to sell 1 million plus books. Coming up is episode 7 on doing the launch hustle. You want to watch, the link is right there. Continue to believe, and we'll see you there.